Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
For every veteran, there is a story about a calling to serve, to fight for the freedoms of the American people. And every story has a struggle, a sacrifice, and invisible wounds. Warrior Watts programs help veterans recover from PTSD and invisible wounds through exercise, nutrition, and connecting with other veteran leaders. It is estimated that 22 veterans die each day by suicide, and another 30 veterans die each day by substance abuse. These are preventable deaths. Warrior Watt is committed to fighting PTSD through fitness, nutrition, and community.
All right. Welcome back.
MisFitNation, the MisFitNation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the MisFitNation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the MisFitNation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the MisFitNation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, Stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the MisFitNation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_MisFitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to the MisFitNation show, the Thursday after dinner edition. We are live. We're in Clarksville. We're not traveling for some crazy reason this year yet, so it's good to be home and be cold at home for some reason as well. Colder than it was in New Jersey and New York for a few days, but I'm sure they're getting it now. Before we get going, there's 2 end of watches we have to put out today. Sergeant Mark Butler, the Navasota Police Department, Texas, end of watch January 15th, 2025. And Deputy Sheriff Jesus Vargas, the Brazoria County Sheriff's Office, Texas, end of watch Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. Here's a little write-up on what happened with the Deputy Vargas. In Southwest Houston, Deputy Sheriff Jesus Jesse Vargas of the Brazoria County Sheriff's Office was fatally shot while serving a warrant. The suspect, Sean Christopher Davis, was subsequently located by U.S. Marshal K-9 Rocky, who was shot during the confrontation, but is expected to survive. Davis was killed in a shootout with police following the incident. Both the community and law enforcement have expressed deep sorrow for Deputy Vargas' death, while also acknowledging the heroism of K-9 Rocky, bravery in apprehending the subject. Canine Rocky was shot multiple times in the neck. If you watch the video, you'll see 4 officers carry Rocky to the helicopter to evac him out. And probably the most cops that are ever at that veterinary clinic were there to watch him get in there and get into surgery. As of this morning, he was doing better, and he's expected to make a recovery. Not sure if he'll go back to full duty. So keep both those Brazoria County and Navasota in Texas in your thoughts and prayers. Keep their friends, their families, and let's just try to do the right things. Look each other in the eyes, talk things out before you go to your sidearm and start shooting people. There's better ways to do things. Tonight we have a great guest, brother of the Misfit Nation. He's from the home front sit rep. He's done many things in life. I'm not going to even try to butcher his bio. I'm going to let him tell us about it. So without further ado, let's welcome retired gunnery sergeant from the United States Marine Corps, Sam Deeds. Welcome.
Thanks, Rich. How you doing?
All right, brother. It's great to have you on here finally. I know I told you, I thought I sent you the invite, but like we were just talking, we can't remember 2 minutes ago, but we can remember the 90s like it was yesterday. So
That's it.
It's awesome to have you here, brother. Tell the Misfit Nation a little bit about your life from as far back as you want to go to how you got to what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Howland, Maine, a little small town. Geographically, it's central Maine. Population-wise, it's northern Maine, so it's north of Bangor, Maine. I don't know. I think we were population somewhere around 2,000. Grew up there, raised there until I was 19. Joined the Marine Corps. Graduated high school, and like 4 days later, I shipped off to boot camp. So,
wow.
Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Paris Island, June, July, August, the hottest part of the year, all that humidity down there in the swamp. But, I'll take that all day, every day over San Diego. We bust our chops for our Hollywood brothers, but,
yes.
They can take Pendleton and the hiking and all that stuff out there, and they can keep it. I'll take PI. It's not as bad when you get out there and start looking to see what they have to do once they get out of MC proper.
Right.
Graduated boot camp, right to the School of Infantry Training Battalion. I think it's like, I don't know, 9. I think it was 9 weeks back then, and then right to 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines. Served there for a little over 3 years. Went to Okinawa, Japan, Poland, Korea, Port-au-Prince, Haiti for humanitarian support and security. Greece for a NATO exercise, a couple different times out to Mountain Warfare Training Center for cold weather operations, cold weather survival, and then to the desert of 29 Palms for, combined armed exercise. And then wasn't going to re-enlist or extend for the float. And they shipped me to another unit, ended up with 2nd Light Arm Reconnaissance Battalion. And I had so much fun over there that I actually re-enlisted. Being mechanized, vice being on foot, man, what a world of difference. Holy cow. I didn't have to worry about carrying that pack everywhere. Let the vehicle do it. But no, I mean, it was a good time. Got selected for recruiting duty. Did that here in Northern Kentucky at RS Florence for 3 years. And then right back to the Fleet Marine Force, 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines. They were deployed to Port-au-Prince, Haiti in 2004 for the civil unrest and the evacuation of everything else that was going on. So that was a peacemaking that turned into peacekeeping, that turned into humanitarian. And then came back, and then it was just school after school, right? So convoy operators course, support and stability operations, enhanced marksmanship, whatever other courses were out there that they were doing that time to do our prep for Iraq. As a matter of fact, a year ago yesterday was 20 years that I stepped foot into Iraq.
Wow.
So January 15th, 2005, we got into Iraq. We replaced another Marine unit that was based out of Abu Ghraib prison. And we had everything west of Abu Ghraib prison to the east wall of Camp Fallujah, and then everything to the north. And I always mix it up, Michigan and Mobile, which route was which, right? So I think it was the southern route that come out of Baghdad over into Fallujah, and then 10 was the north route that came across, I think, or vice versa, whatever. But we had everything north of that southern route. Yeah. So we had everything
in the Mobile.
Yeah, we had everything north of that southern route. And then, I don't know, February 19th, coming back from Iraqi National Guard base that we would patrol out of, was involved in an IED blast. Nothing too severe for me. I did suffer, minor shrapnel wound that I had doc patch up, but would be later diagnosed with a grade 2 concussion and, traumatic brain injury from that. And then 30 days later, setting up a vehicle checkpoint to the west of Abu Ghraib prison on the north-south road that runs between Michigan and Mobile. Came across 2 rock piles that were not there earlier in the day. Went back to warn 2 of my guys, and the device was detonated. After I got medevaced back into Abu Ghraib, they went out to do crater analysis and all that stuff, and they found that it was probably a 155-ish casing that was on each side of the road that detonated simultaneously. And when they followed the wires, it was still sparking on the battery on the roof. So they watched us the entire time. And when I went back to warn 2 of the Marines that were approaching the proposed danger area, they realized I was the leader and detonated it. I don't remember much about it. I know what I've read. I know what my guys have told me. But I ended up with another traumatic brain injury, another grade 2 concussion, later diagnosed with post-traumatic stress. Had a 1/3 open tibia fracture, 2 broken metacarpals in my left hand, shrapnel to my left lower and upper thigh, my left forearm, my right hand, and in my right groin. And then ended up, and that was 67 days in country. And then I got medevaced out. Launch stool, they put in some pain pumps there, and then launch stool to Andrews. And then at Andrews, I remember the doctor coming over from Bethesda, because Walter Reed and Bethesda hadn't joined yet. And they're like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna be able to keep your leg. We're gonna send you back to your home hospital." And there was never any discussion with me, or at least I don't remember, of the possibility of me losing any part of my leg.
Right.
But when I got back to Camp Lejeune, there was a major that was going to be my doctor. And I'm like, "You're not a Marine. You're not in the Navy. What are you doing here?" And apparently I was the first traumatic orthopedic Marine person injury that got rotated back to Lejeune. And they brought up a doctor from Fort Bragg or Benning, Fort Benning, for jump school, that had dealt with some of these open tibia fractures and stuff like that for mishaps on jumps. And that was my doctor for, I don't know, my first surgery and some subsequent surgeries after that. Stayed with 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines. I think December is when I rotated to 6th Marine Regiment to become the assistant operations chief, and then ended up being the ops chief for the regiment as a staff sergeant, which is pretty unheard of. I mean, usually that's a E9 master gunny billet, but they just stood up a division training center, and the master gunny that I worked with and worked for was the senior master gunny on base, and he got pulled to that. So it was about a month before they got another master gunny. So I held that position for a month, controlled all of 6th Marine Regiment, make sure their schools were good. And then 1-9 hadn't stood up yet, but we deployed 1-9 in anti-terrorism battalion's spot. And they weren't even a battalion yet. They had a company and a half stood up, maybe 2 companies stood up, and we deployed them because there was only 2 companies with AT battalion, and they were just doing this the entire time. So to give them a break from the op tempo, we deployed 1-9 Alpha Company in their spot for 1 rotation to let those guys and girls, have a break at home.
Catch a breath. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was told, you can no longer perform the duties of a Marine infantryman. Wow. I was like, man, what am I going to do? So they gave me the opportunity to retire right then medically, or do a lateral move. So I moved over to the V-22, ended up with VMMT 204, which is the training squadron. I was there for 5 years. And then after my 30-something surgery, the Navy Marine Corps found it fit that I couldn't even perform the duties of a basically trained Marine. So I got medically retired, attained to the rank of Gunnery Sergeant by my 12-year mark, and retired at, 14 and change. So yeah, it was a long, crazy career, if you will. If I would have been able to stay in, I'd be hitting 28 this year
now. Yeah.
if I'd been able to stay in. And I just got back from Camp Lejeune. I went last week. My son and I took a trip. His godfather is the maintenance chief of all of 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing.
Oh,
so
wow.
we went down and stayed with him for a couple days and got to go back to Lejeune, got to go back to New River, got to go back to Camp Geiger where the School of Infantry is. And man, how so much has changed on base. Let's not even talk about out in town, but on base.
Yeah.
It's just so many things that are no longer there that were there when I was stationed there. And then so many things that were not there that are there now. The main gate's no longer the main gate. It got shifted over to another side of the base. And yeah, it's just so crazy. But, it's all for the good. You have to go with what, op tempo is and the downsizing and the upsizing and everything else. I mean, hell, 2 of the units that I belong to don't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
Because of the downsize. Yeah. But no, it was good and my son was born in North Carolina too. So it was good for him to go back. He hadn't been there since he was 3.
Wow.
So it was good for him to go back there and then just see all the stuff. We took him to our old house where he lived when he was born and hung out there, and then just, hung out with my buddy Josh and had to listen to him because, Ohio State made the national championship or was in the playoffs and Michigan wasn't. So I had to hear about all that mess. I'm like, yeah, but Michigan still beat Ohio State this year. So that's all that really matters, right? At the end of the day, if you can't beat Michigan, what's the point? But yeah, and then I got out and didn't do anything for a couple of years. Then I took a security job at the airport with Allied. It was Allied Barton. I think it's Allied Securities now. And I got written up one night for giving a dude a threatening look. And I called my wife. I'm like, hey, do I need this job? She goes, no, we'll be good. We'll live paycheck to paycheck, but no, you don't need to be there. I'm like, all right, I'm coming home. And I left and never to return. Then I sat home for another couple of years and did nothing. And then my wife's like, you have to find something. You're driving me crazy. Yeah. I mean, she wasn't used to me being home. We met when I was on recruiting duty. We got married, I don't know, a couple weeks after I came off recruiting duty after my final assignment. And then 10 days after I get back to Camp Lejeune, I deploy to Haiti. And then I come home and it's, like I said, jumping around from school to school to school. And then, when you go in for that instructor billet, now you have to train the battalion to do, everything that you just learned. So I wasn't home. And then we get the word that, hey, you're deploying to Iraq early to help facilitate the first election. And we left. So it's probably the first year of our marriage, I might have been home 2.5 total months. And
Wow.
that's, and a month of that is the return to stateside and recovery.
Wow.
So she was used to me being gone a lot. Not used to me being at home.
Now just imagine you had the 14 years of all the things you did in that small period of time. 14 years, you were around the world, went to combat, you got to see a lot of things in the Far East, and that's just 14 years. Imagine if you stayed in the next 6 years or 10 years more that you would have stayed in, because they would have kept dangling more rank over your head and say, come on, stay buddy, do this.
Yeah. And I think about that a lot, especially going back this past week, and I had great mentors when I was a corporal, when I was a sergeant, that said, okay, once you get to gunnery sergeant, you have to choose either the master sergeant route or the first sergeant route, right? Because the Marine Corps, we split off,
right? And
you're not a master sergeant that fills in the billet and raises the rank. It just doesn't happen like that. You'll be a gunny that gets frocked into the first sergeant billet, but you'll never see a master sergeant go become a first sergeant or a first sergeant become a master sergeant. It just doesn't work that way. When you get the rank, you get the rank, and that's it. And then, your first sergeant becomes your sergeant major, and then your master sergeant becomes your master gunny. And for the Marine Corps, all of our sergeant majors are command sergeant majors. They all hold the command. There's no, like, our battalion has one sergeant major. That's it. The regiment has one sergeant major with, the 3 other battalion sergeant majors, but there's no command sergeant major. It's just weird. I mean, listen to my Army brother and talk about it, and I'm like, what are you talking about? This is just so, it's foreign, right? Because it's not the way you were raised.
Different language.
I knew I wanted to go the sergeant major route, and the gunnies that I had helped me cater my career to go that way, if that makes any sense. So I'm like, man, I'd be a sergeant major. I'd be coming up on 30 years. Where would I be? Right? Would I be at in the staff billets? Where would I be at headquarters? And it's just trying to figure that out. And then looking at today's Marines, and I'm like, man, I might have been force retired because these kids have no common sense. They're book smart, but there's no common sense. You know, that they're this.
Yep.
They don't know how to they don't know how to truly stay on task. But if you give them a task, they'll accomplish it, but they won't do the follow-on for that task. They have to come back and ask and then get, man.
Like when you came up, you went above and beyond what that task was, no matter what.
Yeah.
Let's make this vehicle run perfect. Okay, I'm going to make it run perfect, but I'm also going to detail everything inside it. Now, we'll just get that thing running and hope it gets us to point B.
Right.
That's all we need to do today. And that's the big disconnect that happened generation to generation. And it could be from the op tempo and of course, changes within leadership structures across all services. And you will see this as it goes forward. And hopefully it starts to flip the other way. Every time it goes far right, it comes back to the middle, or far left, it comes back to the middle.
Yeah.
And it kind of rights the ship itself. So hopefully it starts to do that again soon.
And I think a lot of it is the op tempo of what was Iraq, Afghanistan, because, you're for the Marine Corps, 7 months out, come home for 5 months, you get your guys that transition out or move to a different unit or get promoted and get forced to go to a different unit. You get your new guys that come in, and you're not truly mentoring, right? You're training your leader, you're leading, and you're getting them ready for that next battle, but you're not mentoring them. There's not time to mentor them. So I think that's a lot has to do with it. And then you got all those guys that were, 4-year contract that deployed into combat zones 3 times, maybe even 4 times. I mean, the guys that I picked up from the School of Infantry before I left for Haiti ended up with 4 combat deployments in 4 years, just because we picked up School of Infantry, and then that following Wednesday deployed to Haiti.
Wow.
And then 7 months later, deployed to Iraq. Home for 5 months, deployed back to Iraq. So, I mean, they ended up with 4 deployments without having to re-enlist, without having to extend, just because of the way the up tempo was. And those guys are burnt out, and then they're done. They got out, and it wasn't like that when I came in. I came in 97, and up until September 11th, it was just regular, med float, Unitas, deploy to Japan, deploy here, do stateside stuff, typical peacetime stuff for the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And, and then 9/11 happens, and it's just, you're hardly ever home. You're gone.
Right. And so me and my wife talk about that all the time. So we were married. I came in 93. So it was just op tempo training. We trained all the time. You'd go to the field, you could go to work on a Monday and not come home for 4 weeks without even knowing you were doing that, because you had your go bag at work anyway. So you'd go and all right. And there was no cell phone. There was no, hey, calling you. You just had to be ready. You had to be ready to do that. And then 9/11 happened. We have to do this. So I'm used to being gone anyways. This is going to be easy. Just that now we're actually going to be getting taken care of, because they'll worry about us being able to fight, not just get numbers for training. They want us to fight and win. So it's going to be good to go to war. And I had a blast being deployed.
I had 2.
Yeah, you had 2 in one, in one instance. So because you had to be cool, you had to go above and beyond everybody.
Yeah.
But I mean, we all had things happen, and you had it all happen at once. So and then you had to go above and beyond. Have almost 40 plus surgeries now because of it. But you're still living an active life. You didn't let it kill you. You showed the resilience of you, the resilience of your upbringing to keep pushing forward and keep helping others. Tell the audience what you do now as part of what your daily routine is, or if it wasn't the off season, what you'd be doing.
Yeah. So it's the off season, but currently I work a seasonal job for a professional skydive team that is based out of Middletown, Ohio. I do a lot of PR stuff for them, do some of the conferences. Having that recruiter background, it's good to have that little, be able to do a sales pitch of a product instead of a lifestyle. And it's easier to sell a product than it is a lifestyle. But I also serve as the ground safety specialist. So as a ground safety specialist, I got to make sure that the landing area is clear for the guys and girls that are coming in. I talk to the pilot to give him their countdown to get out of the aircraft, because that just doesn't magically happen either. And then I also give, the wind conditions. Right. And what's cool with us is we have a system where even when the jumpers are out of the plane, I can still talk to them. They just can't answer me back. So if the wind conditions change or anything changes, I can get on, the walkie and be like, hey, wind shift 90 degrees, choose your own landing pattern, or do this. Or if it's turbulent, I can tell them it's turbulent, and they can make those adjustments higher up instead of waiting till they get to the ground when they can truly see it. But yeah, we travel all over the world, jumping huge American flags into NASCAR, IndyCar, college football, balloon events, air shows. I mean, we've done birthday parties, we've done divorce parties.
What?
They had one of our guys dress up in a 3-piece tuxedo with this. I think it was a bottle of whiskey or a bottle of tequila. I don't know. It was expensive, whatever. But we made a little carrier thing for it, and he jumped it in and delivered to this dude for his birthday. What? If you want to pay us to do it, we'll do it. But I mean, people got too much damn money, as if you ask me.
I was about to say, that's a FU money right there.
Yeah, that's what that is.
Yeah, that's insanity.
But I also do a lot of work with nonprofits. Through the skydive team, we have our own nonprofit that, and this is how I found out about the skydive team in general is, I went out and did a jump with a Gold Star dad. Matter of fact, it's a guy that I served with his son. I picked his son up from the School of Infantry and deployed to Haiti with him. And he was killed a month and a half after I was injured.
Oh, wow.
But he invited me out because they wanted to do a PR event for this balloon show up in Middletown. And I arrived, and it's myself and Mr. Krasinski. Well, then there's a Gold Star mom there as well. And it happens to be the mom of a kid that I put in the Marine Corps and served with. So I was able to do a tandem skydive alongside of her. And, she loves me unconditionally. He's buried right here in Northern Kentucky. I go there on his birthday, his anniversary. Man, anytime I'm around the cemetery, I swing through and, either clean off the headstone or clean the grass away or whatever. And then I think the following year, the skydive team did their Warrior Weekend to Remember in Middletown. And there were 27 Purple Heart recipients and then the one Gold Star dad. And we did everything from a Reds baseball game to flying in a Mitchell B-25 to a biplane to a Huey that saw action during Vietnam with Vietnam era pilots, gun shoots. Obviously, they did some skydiving, and it was great. And then a week later, maybe 2, they were jumping into a charity softball event here close to the house. And we went. I was there with a friend of mine. And one of the guys got too close to one of the other guys coming in, and he lost all the air on his canopy and dropped about 20, 25 feet. Ended up breaking his back. And rightfully so, the jumpers are concerned about that jumper, and the ground crew is concerned about the jumper. So they're over there attending to him. And I can hear the staff of the game being like, hey, we need to get this field cleared, because once they're gone, we got to start this thing. So I jumped over the wall at the ballpark, and I just started cleaning up their gear, daisy chaining the rigs, throwing them in bags, the flags, everything, just getting it where it needed to be, and then taking it out to the truck. And about a week later, I got a call from the founder of the team saying, hey, you need to put in your application. I'm like, dude, this is not for me. Nothing I want to do. Sorry, not having it. I think I did maybe 8 or 10 events with the team that year as an honorary team member. For everything from University of Cincinnati football games to NASCAR Kentucky Speedway to the Marine Corps Marathon, and then come time for the Military Bowl out in Annapolis, and I walk in the team room, and the owner grabs one of their hats and throws it at me. He goes, "Put that on. You're on the team. We'll figure out this application thing later." And now I'm rolling into my 11th season, and I still don't think I put in an application. But my first probably 8 years on the team, I did 100 plus events a year. Wow. Probably the first 6 years, because COVID happened. And then COVID happens and we shut down completely, just like everybody else did. But the team still jumped locally for some of the hospitals. And we had a Purple Heart recipient, Air Force, who does some 3D printing. And our boss bought the filament and he started printing the bows for the shields and stuff.
Right.
And we would jump in some of the bows, but then deliver a box of the bows to the hospital because they couldn't get the stuff. So, we have a guy that's 3D printing this stuff and we're jumping into the hospital parking lots. And then 2021 happens. We start picking back up again. And I think I'm somewhere around 50 to 60 shows a year now, but we've, changed our marketing. We've changed everything. We've changed our price range because everything, every cost of living's gone up, price of fuel's gone up, transportation's gone up. So we have to adjust. But yeah, so we did that Warrior Weekend as well. And then they've done it every year since. And I think that was probably 8 straight years. I was at every event, whether it was a PR thing, a fundraiser thing, or just to be around some like-minded people and Gold Star families. And then they started including families of fallen first responders. And then compassion fatigue and mental fatigue hit. And I'm like, I need a break.
Yep.
And it was something that I truly needed, but it happened at the wrong time because at the same time, there's another nonprofit that wanted me to come on as a staff member and as a board member. And then the following year, so I chose to take the staff position with the other nonprofit. And then the following year, I get selected as the vice president of the nonprofit. But yeah, I've done a lot of nonprofit work since I retired. I mean, everything from organizations that are now no longer exist and raised millions of dollars through various events for them. Spoke at high level events like the Ripon Society Breakfast, the Congressional Gala in DC, Barrett Jackson, Ron White's Comedy Salute to the Troops. But yeah, it's crazy. My wife told me to find something, and I found something, and it's something that hits close to home, and it's something that I can carry the name of the names of the 25 guys that we lost in Iraq in 2005, 2006 alongside me.
That's outstanding. And you brought up Lance Corporal Brzezinski. In 2006, I was stationed in Alabama, and we had a company and really one guy from Rick was his name from Ohio who sponsored our platoon when I was in Ramadi in 0304. And I wanted to be able to say thank you to some of the people that sponsored us. So I drove up to his house in 2006, and they were actually doing a fundraiser for the Brzezinski family. And I met the mom and dad there. So when you said that name, it's like flashback because there's no other name like that. So I knew it had to be Taylor Brzezinski.
Yep.
At the time. So that's why it's that small world, the small military world. And that Rick Hart was his name. Hopefully he's still with us. Haven't talked to him in a while. But he would send us so much stuff from Ohio to our platoon. We had to build a cabinet to put all the stuff in it, all the food and all the magazines and stuff. So we had to go up there and say thank you. And John Martin, we lost him in 2007 in Iraq, but he went there as well. And he was from Ohio. He drove up to say hello and thank you. And so Martin was a huge dude, huge personality, a former Marine, then went in the Army after he took a break and had to come back in the service because he just couldn't take being a civilian. And he was a huge personality. That's what they thought I'd be the same guy. But I said, we're not all the same in the military. We're all different dudes. Just like you guys are different, we're all different too. But he said, yeah, you're just cool though. Thanks. Good to have you. So thanks, man. So that brought back a memory when you said that. So just wanted to share.
Yeah, Taylor was honored on Ricky Stenhouse's car one year at Charlotte. And I got in touch. I became friends with some NASCAR personalities and crew members, and I reached out to one of the crew members. I was like, "Hey, what's the possibility of getting the top of his windshield?" And next thing I know, they're coming to Kentucky Speedway, and hey, come down here. I've got something for you. It's the whole damn windshield from the car.
Wow!
And Jack Roush had signed the top of it, and we were supposed to jump in. And I was like, man, how cool would it be if I could get Ricky Stenhouse too? And sure enough, not even 15 minutes later, here comes Ricky, and I'm parked right by the gate. I say, Mr. Stenhouse, you don't know who I am. I said, but I have something that belonged to you at one point in time that I'm going to deliver to the family. I said, you remember at Charlotte he goes, yeah, Taylor Brzezinski. I said, well, I'm very close friends with the dad, not knowing that Ricky was sponsored by Fifth Third at that race and did a signing at Fountain Square in Cincinnati. And Mr. Brzezinski went down and talked to him. He goes, yeah, I had a great conversation with his dad. And I was like, well, I have the windshield. Can you sign it for me? And then I let Mr. Brzezinski know, hey, I got something for you. And so I show up at the house. He goes, yeah, I got something for you too. Let's see if I can turn my whole friggin' thing here without knocking stuff off. So NASCAR sent him the mock-up of the ribbon on the windscreen.
Yeah.
So he goes, and then he gave that to me. I was like, oh man. See, knocking everything. So that's been displayed in my house ever since we got back from the Kentucky race. But yeah, it's just, it is crazy how small the world is, right? Especially the military world. You brought up home front sit rep earlier. Willis and I went to boot camp together. That's where we met.
In boot.
We were both in platoon 1070 in June of 97. And here we are, almost 30 years later. He's like, hey, I need a co-host. Can you come on? I'm like, yeah, sure. So now I get the co-host with him every now and then. But yeah, it's just crazy how Facebook and social media has been able to connect people that served with each other, that had great connections and everything. And that's just one of those things.
It definitely closes the gap. And like, if you think of like our dads and our uncles when they fought in Vietnam or Korea, Vietnam, they didn't really have that way to get in touch with their brothers that they fought with. And a lot of them, they're dying now. And as they get close to the end, they wonder what this guy's doing, or wonder how Jeff is doing, or how Mike is doing, because they never had that closeness, or never had the ability just to pick up a phone and Google that dude's name and say, where is he?
Yeah. Well, and the crazy thing is a lot of those guys name their sons after them, right? So their granddaughter or their daughter may be, oh, let's look up Rich LaMonica. Oh yeah. Well, there's a junior, and then they can get in touch with you to find, to see if the dad or if you're related or whatever. And that's happened a bunch too to me. Hey, are you the same? Blah, blah. I'm like, who is this?
Who just no phone?
But yeah. There was an incident that happened September 11th, 2008 in North Carolina. And I think it was last year. I get this message on Facebook. Hey, are you the same Sam Deeds? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, that's me. And he goes, well, I'm so-and-so. I was like, oh, shoot. Yes, sir. I know who you are. And on my way back, so he has a company in North Carolina, and they're based in Raleigh. And on the way back, I swung in to see him. And, I was like, this is what I remember. And then his story and bouncing it off. And then there just happened to be one of his coworkers is a guy that was there the day that the incident happened. He goes, hey, this is what I remember. So, the three of us coming up with the scenario that we remember the most. And then I ended up receiving the Navy Marine Corps medal for the incident. But I came home and started going through boxes, and I found like eyewitness statements. I found recorded transcripts of conversations, and I was like, hey, I don't know if this will help you any, but here you go. And I sent it all to him.
Wow.
But, reconnecting with, a guy that you saved, who was willing to die, and already said his, prayers and his goodbyes to, everybody. And then you do something stupid and jump in the ocean to rescue him, and, running into him, all these years later, not knowing how you're going to be received, because it was just a surprise pop in. And all I wanted to do is give him one of my challenge coins. I was like, I got something for you. was like, no, this isn't me trying to be brash, but he himself saved 2 people that day. And, and I wanted to let him know, you're a hero as well. I mean, just because the Marine Corps recognized me, there's nothing for a civilian.
Right. Maybe a picture on paper. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And someone actually asked about your coin rack, asked what it was behind you. I told him it was a coin rack. If you want to explain where most of those come from, or
oh man,
you came up with that design. I mean, it's an awesome design.
So the board in the middle was given to me by the guy who made it. He is a retired Army Master Sergeant who then became a police officer, was a narcotics police officer, and ended up getting shot twice, point blank, in his face. And his therapy has turned into woodworking. Well, I had a bunch of smaller cases in here, and matter of fact, I still have the plans for the bigger ones.
Right.
So that's my design, but he made them for me. And so I think I'm somewhere around 500 challenge coins. There's only 2. Yeah, there's only 2 on the board. There's about 400 and something behind me. But in my total collection, there's only 2 I've ever bought, and both of them have been my personal challenge coins. I did a challenge coin on a number of years ago when I was speaking. They're like, "Do you have a business card? Do you have a business card?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm not making business cards." So I decided to design a challenge coin instead and give that out, to military members or police or wherever I was speaking as a token of thanks. And then I redesigned it, and I don't even see them on my board. But here's my redesign.
All right.
And then on the back is the name Corps medal, the Eagle of an Anchor, the Purple Heart, Semper Fidelis with the blue service star, the silver service star, and the gold service star. And then the official race logo of the 2013 Brickyard 400, and it was the Samuel Deeds 400. I got it named in my honor, but I wanted all my coins in one space.
Right.
And I thought I designed it big enough. So it's 34 inches wide by 54 inches tall. The top 2 rows and the bottom row are 4 1/4, and then every other row is 3 1/4. And I still have another 100 coins in the other.
Now, most of those, did you get them after service or a lot during service?
I would say probably 90% is post service. I also have helped design coins as well for organizations. So this row, and up to the horse, those 3 are my design. And then that row and that row are my design. And you'll see like some of them look the same.
Right.
And so that's for the Mogadishu Mile, Kentucky. On the back of that each one has a different sponsor on it. So the 4 years that we've done the Mogadishu Mile, I've gone out and gotten sponsorship. So we haven't had to purchase our gifts that we're giving away. And that's one of the gifts that we give. And then like the Eagle here, and then there's another one over here. That's for the Eagles Lodge up in Middletown, Ohio. And they have a silver one and a gold one. And the silver one, you can purchase at the Eagles Club if you're at the bar as a member or whatever. And then they give the gold one to, people that are going above and beyond, or board members that are served their term and are leaving. But they found it fit that, me designing the coin, they wanted me to have one of each. But yeah, everything behind me has been given to me. I can tell you pretty much who gave me every single one. There's a couple up there that I won't point them out, but there's that have a pretty unique and special meaning behind them. And I won't even talk about it on screen. If somebody says, "Hey, what's that one?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can't talk about it." Just because of where it came from. It's not,
right.
Government, military contracts or whatever. But yeah, it's I got, I don't know, three or 4 rows of police officers, fallen police officer stuff from the DEA all the way to local police here. But yeah, most everything is post-military, but everything on this rack here are all the units that I served with, or ships I was on, or units I was attached to. And what's crazy is when he designed this, I start. I'm like, I'm gonna put my coins, the ones of units I served with on there. And then there's one missing, and I'm like, well, dang, what am I gonna put there? And then realize that I was actually attached or stationed in 24 different units or ships throughout my time in the Marine Corps, and I'm missing one right there. So weapons training battalion at Camp Lejeune is the only one I'm missing. I refused to purchase a coin. If I purchased a coin everywhere I went, I'd probably have, I don't know, 1,000 plus coins, or saw one that I thought was cool. But yeah, like this one here is from Hawaii. Actually, those two are from Hawaii. This one's stupid. This is the dumbest coin I've ever seen. It is a 1/2 inch thick.
Jesus, yeah.
It's a friggin' truck bumper. But a buddy of mine was out in Hawaii, and I asked him, I asked him to go to Schofield Barracks to get a coin for one of our friends, because that's where he was stationed when he was in the Army. And he gets out there and he runs into this guy. He goes, "Hey, do you guys happen to have any challenge coins for your unit?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, sure." So he brings him back this thing. He goes, "Hey, I'll buy 2 more from you." So he shows me this. I'm like, how are you getting 3 truck bumpers back through security in Hawaii to come back? Yeah, it's freaking crazy. It's heavy too. I mean, it's massive. But then I've got three from different embassies that were given me by a friend of mine that travels a lot, and then this whole, pretty much that whole row right there is my son's godfather. Every unit that he's been stationed with, he sends me one. And so I mean, there's just so many. I could fill up another hour just talking about the coins, like Medal of Honor recipients that I've met and had the honor of shaking their hands and listening to their life events and their story and how they received, the events that, led them to receiving the medal. And there's just so many different things that are on here that have really cool, unique stories to them.
Yeah, so you said you had 24 different locations or ships or training in only 14 years. We go back to what I said earlier. Imagine if you stayed.
Yeah. So, and what's crazy about that is
bigger than that.
Yeah. So my last 5 years was non-deployable because of my injuries.
Right.
So that takes me back to 9 years. 3 years on recruiting duty, non-deployable. Yeah. So now I'm down to 6. And then you take away all the holiday time and, leave and everything else. I'm probably somewhere around 3.5, 4 years of true time of being able to deploy.
Yeah.
And it's just stupid. I mean,
it's crazy,
right place, right time, wrong place, wrong time, however you want to look at it. And back then it wasn't like you were somewhere for 2 or 3 years and you had to move. They didn't move you unless you re-enlisted.
Right.
But I mean, like 2 or 3 of them are Japan, like one from Camp Schwab, one from the Northern Training Area for jungle warfare training, and then Korea, a couple from Korea, a couple different bases.
That's outstanding. I think the best coin I ever got was in 2004 in Ramadi. We were with 2-4 Marines working with them, clearing out Ramadi basically and everything east towards Fallujah. And the Anglico commander presented me and Sergeant Martin, Jonathan, that I talked to you about earlier, gave us both an Anglico coin. And so we don't usually give these out. We don't give out a lot of coins to the Marines like you guys do. But since you guys have been helping my guys, I want you to know that we appreciate you. And gave to, and that's front and center on my coin.
That's awesome
right there. So
this one right here is probably one of the, I can't say, I mean, they all, like I said, they're all special. And I mean, I've received a number of these Medal of Honor coins are from Woody Williams, before he passed. I got to know Woody for 10 or 12 years and spent some time with him. But the most current past commandant, General Berger, that's his coin right there. He was my battalion commander when I rotated off of recruiting duty back to the Fleet Marine Force, and in 3-8, he was a colonel.
Wow.
And they deployed him. He opted to stay with the unit through that Haiti deployment instead of bringing in a newer lieutenant colonel.
Wow.
But it ended up as the coming out of the Marine Corps, and I ran into him at the evening parade. He goes, "What are you doing here? Who are you here with? How do you know them? What are you doing now?" And it's like he looked at me and goes, "I know who you are. What's your name?" And I told him. He goes, "Are you serious?" He got all excited, and his wife, it's like, "Oh, I remember when you got injured." But I was like, "What the heck is happening?" But yeah, it's just,
oh, shit.
yeah. But I mean, the most, like Sergeant Major Black and Sergeant Major Ruiz, that's their coins. Sergeant Major Battaglio, when he was the senior enlisted advisor to the Joint Chief. I mean, Sergeant Major Daly, was the Sergeant Major of the Army at one point in time. I mean, there's just so many different cool moments and stories of people I run into. And, a lot of it was at speaking engagement. Some of it's been with the team. Some of it's been within travels. Like, my guys know I won't buy a coin. And they're like, "Hey, you buy mine, I'll buy yours." I'm like, "I'm buying it for you. I'm not buying it for me." So, I mean, there's probably 3 or 4 over here somewhere that are like that. My kid bought me 2 on this last trip that we took. He bought me one from Liberty, if you will.
Well, for another week.
Yeah. He brought me one from Liberty, and then he brought me one from Seymour Johnson during our trip. And I'm like, "That's cool, bud. Appreciate it." My wife bitches and complains about it, and she brought me 4 or 5 while we were in Hawaii. So she adds to the problem.
She's part of the issue.
She is.
So you've shown the whole throughout your life of service. You're still a servant leader now. Your resilience is unmatched. What could you tell the Misfit Nation audience? 3 things they can do starting tomorrow to maybe make them more resilient, or maybe increase that grit to move forward in life.
Man, I tell you, what's funny is I just did an interview for a magazine, and that was similar question. And that one I sat long and hard and thought about. And I think that one of the main things that me personally I had to do is apologize. And it not to people that led me into certain circumstances, but to myself. Because I personally felt as though I let my guys down by getting blown up, even though I saved, 2 of them directly, but the rest of them probably indirectly.
All right.
And then I had to sit there and realize that I didn't put the IED in the ground. I didn't personally trigger it. It was command detonated, but even if I had, I still didn't put it there. And, doing what you do as a infantry unit leader, I had to come to that realization. But yeah, apologize to myself, and realizing that I wasn't alone. I think that in itself is the biggest thing. There's guys and girls out there that have been through similar situations, if not the same situations that you've been involved in, whether it's combat trauma, whether it's training trauma, whether it's military sexual trauma, no matter what it is, there's somebody out there that has experienced what you're going through.
Right.
And realizing that you're not alone, that there is a light on the other side of this. That the dark days, when they're dark, they're heavy. And sometimes the demons come creeping in, and that demon wants to win. But you made it through whatever, even if you're a police officer, right? You made it through whatever training you went through to get to be called a trooper, a county sheriff, an officer, a sergeant, a detective, whatever. Same thing with the military. You went through whatever training you did to be called a soldier, sailor, airman, Coast Guardsman, Marine. What do they call them? The Space Force cadets, space cadets.
I think the cadets, yeah.
If you can get through that, that is some of the toughest training in the world, period, because not everybody can do it. And everybody that went through any course of training understands that people got dropped. People got sent home. People didn't get to live what they thought their dream was going to be, and they had to change their dream. You lived your dream. whether it was for 4 years, 4 days, 14 years and change, 24 years, 40 years, you lived it. You got through all that. You can get through your dark days now.
Yeah. And the sun rises every day. So
absolutely,
today might be, tomorrow is a new day. Press reset and get going, push forward.
That's most everybody lives in a place where the weather changes every 4 hours anyway, right? So, you go to Florida during the summer, it's going to rain for an hour, period.
At least.
Sometime throughout the day.
Yeah.
There's sun on the front side of it. There's sun. Hell, it might even be sunny while it's raining.
Yes.
There's good weather on the backside of that.
And there will be someone sunbathing during that storm. So
yeah. Don't let what's happening around you affect you. I know it's hard to say.
Yeah. Hard to hear.
I'm probably one of the biggest people that road rage. Not to the point that I'm running people off the road, but I'm in my car shaking and yelling and everything else. Right? I'm not even blowing the horn, but just I can't stand idiots. Yeah. That's my crutch, is I can't stand idiots, and most people out there are doing this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I actually seen someone reading a book while driving the other day. Reading a book, smoking and driving.
Yeah. But yeah, don't let the dark days win. Yeah, right. I mean, you've made it through some tough times. If you saw combat and you're at home,
you made it.
You've seen the gates of hell, my friend.
Yeah. They were open, waiting for you to come in, and you came home. So keep pushing forward and keep stacking those victories. That's something we like to say here.
Yep,
brother. Thanks for me finally letting you come on the show, and thank you for the 3 updates you did during our Thankful Challenge during November as well. That was awesome.
Yeah, man. I saw those dates were open. I was like, you know what, screw it, and I just out there set up the phone, my tripod, and did recording, and Echo, man. I did that with Echo probably 5 times, and I'm like, you know what? Every time I'd say, hey, it's Sam with Echo, there it is to the face. I'm like, yeah, this dog. But she saves my life every day.
Outstanding. All right, brother. I'll let you get back at it. Anytime you need something from me, just let me know. You got my email, you got my number. Look forward to seeing you on the tip of the spear here in 2 weeks now?
A couple weeks.
Yeah. It'll be a great chat then. Misfit Nation, thanks for hanging out with me and Gunny tonight. Keep doing what you do. Keep pushing forward. Like Gunny said, there's always light at the end of that tunnel, and we're here for you. So reach out. Don't go through things alone. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, Rich.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus, they cover entrance fees for a driver and all passengers in a car, or up to 3 additional adults at sites that charge per person. Obtaining one is easy. Just go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, or the National Park Service app.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.